So, talking about alternative modeling part 2. Us. And so
Or continued.
We already talked about like some tips about getting started and from what experience we have.
So this, the first video was really like from 0 to step 1.
And now some more
or level 1.
tips and tricks and stuff. So,
I think we touched on it briefly in the other video, but like I said, like a lot of times, when you're like a year or two into modeling, you let your ego get way out of where
you lose perspective.
The atmosphere. You lose perspective, and you really need to just be very realistic about where you are in your modeling. You're gonna get better. You're gonna get better. You're gonna get better. And you're gonna get better, but recognize step 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. Like recognize what step you're at, and don't
And even if you do plateau, even if you do get really good really quickly and then plateau, right? Just because you're at that level doesn't make you any better than anyone else that didn't get to that level as quickly as you, or
Absolutely.
even that is never going to get to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're above someone doesn't mean that you act like not above. Just because you are talented doesn't mean you act above other people, essentially.
Right, or we're lucky, or whatever. You know, there's a million reasons why you could have gotten farther than somebody else, and you know, who's to really say why, and who's to say what's better or anything. So really, like, just worry about you. Just freaking worry about you. Don't worry about anybody else. Just worry about you. You want to network, you want to make friends, but just worry about where you're at. Don't worry about who you're better than or who you're worse than. You'll also find that a lot of times those girls who like think that they're the best are also, if you get to know them better, the ones who like are always looking at everybody else like, oh well, why aren't I as good as her? Yeah, it's very weird.
And motivation, I think, in the long run is very important. Like, to analyze why you got into it and why you're continuing to do it, because are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it to prove a point to someone? Are you doing it to be like someone? I feel like there's a lot of negative motivation for it.
Like, number one, we're going to tell you right now, being an alternative model does not make money.
Yeah.
Unless you're mosh, or you're somebody who's like...
I mean, it can potentially make pocket change. It can potentially be a fun hobby in which you can buy more clothes for that hobby for.
Yeah, anybody who walks around and says, I'm an alternative model, it's my job, they're fucking lying to you. Like, it happens all the time, like on Vampire Freaks, and even on Model Mayhem. If somebody who appears...
in the respect that it's faking it to make it, but like a way too far. Like, you might go like, you might have to go around saying that I'm a model in order to get gigs, right? But that's not...
You say I'm a professional, full-time model. Don't use words full-time. If the only reason you're a full-time model is either you have a husband who can afford all of your expenses and you're able to stay home all day.
Hypothetically, if you belong to an agency or you like work for enough designers that pay, but most of the designers, alternative designers, don't really pay enough for you to be considered
you're not living off of it. I mean, sure, there's probably people who do that full-time. They're either in school... Like I said, they're somebody else is paying for the living. They live with their parents. Like, you're not, nobody is like at a normal alternative level.
Making 30, 40 or more thousand a year off of modeling. I actually, based on the money I make off of modeling in school, while I was in school, have never paid for, never had to do taxes. Based on the fact that I've made under, whatever the amount was, 3,000 or so in a year. So that's like some perspective.
And that's somebody who's working for Suicide Girls, who's working for Cosplay Deviants, who's modeling nude, which is pretty much the only way to seriously make money as an alternative model, is if you're doing nude things. And
still making,
And not only that, but she's a successful person in that. She does well on Zivity. She does well on the websites. And there are tons of people who don't do as well as her. So for somebody to walk into...
Who are also very talented.
Of course, but putting that out and saying, this is my job... It makes you sound silly.
It comes across as, again, snotty and
like you know better and you're like we know how this works. It has an air to it. Yeah. Like, sure, even like you to make a living off of alternative modeling, like you'd have to be shooting for clothing designers every weekend. Like, well, I guess the gray area here is like, what's the definition of making a living off of modeling? You know, like, again, like I said, if you live with your parents, if you have no expenses, if you have no bills, and you make a couple $100,
if you're getting paid at all, then it becomes a job. Like, it's a job and it's professional. But I mean, I would consider it as the term is like, if it's a career, and it's not, I mean, not for anyone at our level. And I don't know a single person. I mean, my friend that started with me, Lauren, maybe Lauren WK, like, and Mosh. I don't really know that many people.
Yeah, I'd say Lauren probably does.
Yeah.
But again, Lauren is modeling nude. Lauren's traveling.
Yeah, and nude modeling is a whole another story. As far as money.
Not to mention Lauren moved to LA.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, you know, there's situational things, and if you want to walk in and tell me that you're at the same level as Lauren on Vampire Freaks and you have unprofessional pictures or just barely professional pictures, like, you're making yourself sound really silly. And it honestly, like, if you were to come in and be like, you know, I'm new, I'm starting out, I'm just trying, and you were to be humble, I would respect you. But if you come to me and be like, I'm making money at this, and this is my full-time career, I'm gonna look at you like you're an idiot, and I'm gonna walk away from you because you're lying to my face, and your
being
ego
realistic.
is ridiculous. And we don't need your ego.
And
like,
a lot of people do a motivation, because we're talking about motivating factors. A lot of people are motivated to start because of a very small ego, and then when you get those ego snacks, you're going to overcompensate because you've never actually had a healthy ego. But what you have to do that and take it and internalize it and have a quiet confidence, because that's an actual confidence. It's when you understand that you're good enough and you don't need to prove it. You're not out there to prove it to anybody but yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't need to pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah, like when you're writing your profile on Model Mayhem, or if you're on Vampire Freaks and you're trying to be a Vampire Freaks model, like, don't sit there and write a bunch of crap about how great you are and how you've done all these things.
What are you trying to prove?
Because it's like, your photos speak for themselves. Like, you could have no bio, and I would think of you as the same as a girl with a perfectly fine bio if your pictures were comparable. You know, it's like, you're much better writing less than writing about how great you are, and you're not fooling anybody. So if you submit to a magazine and you're like, well, I've been published in 100 magazines and I'm the best model in the world, and they're gonna look at your pictures and they're gonna be like, what is she talking about?
And one kind of funny thing is, even though it's great to be published in magazines and have that on your credits, a lot of magazines you have to pay for to be part of. Just saying.
Pay for it to be part of them, but
and they make their profits based on the models then turning around and buying. They don't give you free copies of what you're published in.
A couple of years ago, they came out with this website, MagCloud. And when MagCloud started, basically, tons of alternative people made magazines. So every photographer, every model just started making these magazines on MagCloud. So they make magazines, they submit their files to MagCloud, and everybody can order from MagCloud the publications.
The physical copy.
And whatever it is.
The downloaded copy.
And it's given a lot of people and it's really honestly done a disservice to our alternative modeling industry, because it's given a lot of people like this false sense of like ego. Oh, I've been published 15 times in all these magazines, but you've been published in magazines
on MagCloud.
Yeah, like if the magazine you're published in, or every magazine you've been published in, is in MagCloud, you know, that's cool that you got published, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And that should be a good credit for you, but.
Yeah. But understand that if the person next to you got published in MagCloud, they did not get a free copy of that magazine. They did not get paid to be put in that magazine. They submitted their photos to that magazine themselves. That magazine likely did not scout them, did not ask for their photos. They sat there and said, I want to be in a magazine, let me submit my photos to all these magazines, and they submitted to 20 magazines and 5 people wrote back.
And honestly, that is actually a very good thing to do in the beginning. Like, that's a sort of thing where
there's nothing wrong with doing
that. You want credits, but then again, you're going to turn around and probably pay for the magazine because you want to have a physical copy of it.
There's many magazines I've been published in that I don't have a copy to, because I'm not spending $40 on a magazine.
Exactly, and if you're starting, you don't necessarily have that money, and like, all of that. But, I mean, it's good maybe to start where you have nothing to show for yourself and you want some credits, but to go around and saying that makes you some kind of a big player in the game, like, because anyone can submit to those sort of things.
Yeah, and again, it's fun, and it's not bad, it's not hurting you. It's just, don't think that by having a magazine accepting you into their magazine that you are magically better than everybody else. Again, it's just back to checking your ego. Like, there's nothing more important than checking your ego. And it's cool, and like I said, even I still get published in those magazines. I'm sure even you still get published in those magazines. our friends get published in those magazines.
But we do it for fun.
It's just fun, and sometimes like you have a cool set, and you're like,
Like,
you know,
where can this go? Yeah,
like what can I do
make
with
a
this set?
reason for it to go somewhere.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just, it's not like Bizarre Magazine or Gothic Beauty came to you and said, I want you in my magazine. Because that's a little bit of a different story. And even with Bizarre Magazine, it's not even that hard to get published in Bizarre Magazine, because if you sign up for the Ultra Vixens, which every single alternative model does, you have the opportunity to get published in Bizarre Magazine. I've been published in Bizarre Magazine 4 times.
Ooh.
Not because I wanted to be, but because because Bizarre Magazine doesn't really doesn't really care about copyrights apparently, and just steals photos from the Ultra Vixens. So my photo has been published 4 times in 4 separate issues without my consent. I was consented to it the one time at the beginning. Mind you, I don't even think I signed a model list, and the photographer I'm pretty sure didn't either. I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure that they didn't. But then they took the same photo and they republished it in 3 other issues. And they did so with some other model friends, and I had shown it to the other model friends. I was like, hey, look, our pictures are still being published, even though, you know, our Ultra Vixen thing is, like, over. And they were like, what do you mean that they're, like, illegally using our images? And yeah, they kind of are. I mean, it's kind of weird in a situation like that. It's like, it's cool to be published in a magazine you can go to Barnes & Noble and pick up, but you also have to think, you know, do I really want a magazine just using my images haphazardly, and then potentially not even finding out about it? And
yeah, exactly.
It's really... Magazines are really a weird thing, and, you know, unless you're getting, like, a full feature in Gothic Beauty, you know, you're not really that much better than anybody else. And
well, even if you are, you aren't any better than anyone else.
You know, if you are, point. Like, that's great, and feel good for yourself, and, you know, and
as an achievement.
But but like, unless you got the cover and like, you know,
even if you did the point is that
but I mean, like,
always
you
check yourself.
Back something up.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, magazines are a weird thing, and it's like I said, with the invention of MagCloud and the fact that it's so easy for anybody to start a magazine now, it's really a gray area on how important it really is
to be published in magazines.
Yeah, like it's really
something you want some under your belt maybe just to have to experience, but I mean, it's not like you're. It's when people are like, I'm in print, like I'm in magazines, or someone asks you, what magazines are you in? It's not really like, it's like a, MagCloud's like a different, it's like an online magazine.
Yeah, I mean, like, even though you can buy a physical copy of it, it's like, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hard spot, and honestly I think a lot of people would disagree with us on this.
Maybe.
But it's just, you know, it's just a weird thing, and, you know, if you're starting out, I do encourage you to even submit to them. I think, you know, it can be fun, and it can feel nice to have yourselves in print and to see that
and
in
especially
print.
When there's like I think it's very healthy when there's challenges, like this issue will be about cats and pinups or something, and then so you have a goal, like a theme and a goal and a project. Like sometimes when you're starting off, you're all over the place, you have so many ideas and you're excited, but like you need a way to narrow that shit down.
Oh yeah.
And like sometimes things like that, or projects in general, give you some kind of focus where you can be creative within certain parameters.
It's true, and that's always fun, just like on Zivity, how there's the contests and stuff.
Prizes. Zivity is not until like you've experienced a couple shoots, and it's just a nice option too. Maybe talk about some like basic things that are good to have as a modeling, like just have, starting off.
Yeah, black shoes.
Yeah, like
black heels.
Plain black heels. I think also like a boot of some sort, like that you can use that's versatile.
A black corset.
Yeah. Stockings, fishnets.
Fishnets.
Black underwear.
Just strapless
plain,
bra. Black bra. I mean, those are some good basics.
A basic corset, I think you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, just a basic black corset.
Underbust and overbust, maybe.
Yeah. Those are some good things to have. So another thing that, I mean, you learn this with experience, but there's like some things that you always gotta remember when you're doing a photo shoot. Like, it's almost like a mental checklist. So when you get in front of a camera, there's a couple things that you need to make sure you do.
Gum out of your goddamn mouth.
Oh yeah, gum out of your mouth. You check your wrists, okay? If you have a hair band on your wrist, you take it the fuck off.
That's gonna look like crap, and it's a hell to edit.
A photographer is going to be mad at you. It's like literally like a photographer's nightmare is black hair ties on wrists.
It happens.
We all do it, and we've all done it, and we've all forgotten about it, and we've got upset about it. The photographers have gotten upset about it.
Yeah.
We've had to reshoot things or mid-shoot stop and then start from the beginning again because neither of us realized.
And it's especially
remember
bad
to
if
check.
you're wearing something beautiful that just does not match with the fucking hair
Oh, yeah.
tie. And you're just, yeah.
So remember to check your hair ties. Next thing, nail polish. Chipped nail polish. Looks horrible in a photo shoot.
You may think you look super goth with your black chip nail polish, but no.
Repaint the night
that
before, take it off, or like I said, in emergent situations, and like I said in the first video, have some kind of a nail polish remover wipe handy. Keep it in your bag.
Yeah,
have a bag you
kit.
always bring, and have in there bobby pins, have the nail polish removers, makeup removers.
All your basics, like
all
your
basics that you could
stockings and
possibly
your
need.
underwear and whatever.
But like the hairband, it's like one of those like things about modeling. It's like the hairband. It's like it's just
big, yeah.
it's just one of those things, and so that's one. Like I said, chip nail polish. You know, if you have dyed hair, it is hard if you're modeling a lot to keep up with your roots, but keep up with your roots.
Yeah, stay as fresh. And, you know, obviously, hygiene, like, shave your legs before shoot.
Oh, yes.
And,
I
mean, if
can't
that's...
even believe we have to say that.
I know, but it has to be said. I've had photographers say that girls came, like, unprepared. And, I mean, fair enough if that's your kind of niche. I know there's, with alternative modeling, there's hairy armpits and hairy legs. And it's a thing, apparently, especially fetishy stuff. But, just no, come prepared, come clean and hygienic and...
Yeah, I mean, if you're modeling with your legs showing, don't... If you normally shave your legs every 3 days and you're on day 2, then plan your days a little bit so you're shaving the day of the photo shoot. You don't want to get razor burn, but you don't want to have stubbly legs. So you know, just like even like with the way you wash your hair. If you wash your hair every other day, maybe you
dry
wash
shampoo
it.
is your friend too.
Oh yes, dry shampoo. But still, when you're doing a photo shoot, you really want to adjust your days. So like if you wash your hair every other day or every 3rd day. Either go an extra day without washing your hair, or wash your hair a day sooner, so you're ready for your photo shoot. Now, some people, 2nd day hair is the best hair for them.
Yeah.
Their hair looks the best. Their hair works with them the best. That's fine. But other people, freshly washed hair is the best hair. And know your hair and know how it works with stuff. Know how greasy it looks on day 2 or day 3, and don't go to a photo shoot if you're on day 3 hair and it looks greasy, because that's just stupid, and you're gonna see it in your pictures, and everybody's gonna notice. So I don't know why you would do that. There's no good reason to do that. Just know every part of your body. If you shave your arms, if you shave your arms, shave your arms, but shave them the day of the photo shoot or the night before. If you're modeling nude, you have to decide.
Yes.
This is maybe more your department.
Groom your bits. Like, even if it is like you keep some on the playing field, just groom it. No one wants to see unwieldy, like, I thought there's the hirsute fetish, but for the most part, just groom your shit and know what you're gonna be expected to. And I mean, generally the rule is if you're gonna be nude at a shoot, do it the day of in the morning.
Oh yeah. Because that area is just
you're gonna get razor burn. You're gonna get I have really sensitive skin, and I don't have the money for laser hair removal, which in an ideal world I would have. So just do it the morning before. Yeah.
And then some other things you have to think about. If you have a photo shoot in the morning, don't go out drinking the night before. Don't be hungover. Yeah. That would be stupid. Make sure you get sleep.
That would be stupid.
Well, it would. Because it's like, again, this goes back to video number 1. Like,
respectful.
This is somebody's time. And especially if you're doing a trade shoot, yes, you're giving them your time, but you're also taking their time. And you don't know somebody's life. You don't know what they do the rest of the time. You don't know what they had to do to make that shoot with you. And if they do the shoot and it's a waste because you decided to go out drinking the night before and you were too hungover and you couldn't be your best, that's not fair to them. And you know what? You should probably be paying for those photos because you messed them up. It's like you have to really think about everybody in the situation and what's the best, and if you want to be a professional
especially if you want to get a working relationship going on.
Oh yeah, if you want to keep working with that person, you want to just be your best. And just like when you get dressed to go to the photo shoot, don't put your tightest pants on that are going to create marks in your waist, and then put your lingerie on and have a big seam in there. Because I don't want to fucking Photoshop that shit out for you because you didn't think to put some nice soft leggings on and a plain top. Like, just think about what you're wearing.
Similarly, for nude modeling, you don't want to. Ideally, you before a shoot wear a dress or something with nothing on, and then you could just change or something, because you'll get those lines, the panty lines, which are really a bitch to edit out. But I mean, even when you're a clothes model, you're going to be switching out of your clothes a lot, so consider what you're going to wear for that shoot, or even if you don't know, then just wear stuff that's not tight, like Chloe meant. So me and her have different outlets that we can do modeling for, and and sometimes it limits your options, but at the same time, it limits your options for modeling, but then it doesn't limit your options for life.
Right. So like, when I'm applying for a job, I don't have to worry about them finding my nudes, but she does. But she makes a lot more money than I do because I don't do nudes. So it's like you weigh the options. It depends on what your life choices are, and you really have to think about it.
Think about it ahead of time. For instance, I went to school for art, and I plan on doing stuff that, even though I want to do commercial art, it's going to be a lot less conservative than a lot of other fields. So I can get away with a lot more than someone who.
If you're becoming a lawyer, you probably shouldn't be a nude model. If you're becoming a doctor, you probably shouldn't be a nude model. Think about what you're doing in your future, because you know what, you might be 18 and do that, and then when you're 25, somebody finds your photos and you lose a job. You have no idea what could happen, and you really have to think about how you feel about it and how you'd feel about it in any situation.
And it is like I've had an overall positive experience with it, but it's not going to be the same for everyone, and you also have to understand the people in your life too.
Right, and how your parents are going to feel when they find out. You're going to keep it from your parents. If you keep it from your parents for 5 years and they find out that you've been nude modeling for 5 years, how are they going to feel?
And there's a whole lot of stigma too. Like, I personally have had no issues with boyfriends, and in fact I found one that I currently have because of nude modeling. But you're going to also always, people are going to presume certain things about you, and if you have that as a background, they're going to assume that you're promiscuous. They're going to assume that you're all these other things, and that you don't have the same sort of stigma when you're a clothed model.
And not only that, but as being your friend, like I've seen people walk up to her and be like, "What do you mean, Nicole? We've all seen you naked. Don't be like that." Yeah. And like I've watched you be like, "What do you mean?" Like, just because she models nude doesn't make her any different than me, who doesn't model nude. And like people.
I'm not gonna take my clothes off in front of you just because I'm naked on the internet.
Exactly, and people have these ideas, and like I've watched them do it to her, and I'm like, I don't what do you mean? Like, you sound like an asshole, just like you'd say like an asshole if you said it to me. It doesn't make her any different of a person.
You're gonna experience that, and that's something that you have to, and not that it's okay, but it's something that you have to know that you're gonna get yourself into.
Right. Are you gonna be prepared for your friends to assume that you can just walk around naked?
And you have to know that anyone and everyone, if they want to, no matter on how private the site, can see you naked then, because there are torrents, and just think about everybody that you would not want to see you naked. Yeah, they can see you naked.
Like, if you end up in a situation or a new school or something, and you make one friend, and your one friend knows you're a nude model, and then their friend knows, and then everybody knows, and then your entire school knows, and then all of their friends know, and every time, so you could be walking past people and every single
one. So you have to be a strong enough person to be okay with that. And even with normal modeling, you have to be a strong enough person to be okay with not caring about third-party perspective, because some people can really hone in on that and pick on you for that if that's something that they don't agree with. And you have to be doing it for you and be strong enough to not give a fuck. And, a really quick other note would be, people think that it's really easy, and we already touched on that you're going to feel sore the next day, it's exhausting physically, but there's a lot of things you need to, besides networking, you need to be really aware of, like, locations, budget, time, styling. These are all things that, like, can consume a lot of time and a lot of planning.
And, like, locations are a lot harder than you think. Like, you might see, like, photo shoots and be like, wow, how'd they find that awesome location? Well, how'd they find that awesome location?
Like crazy.
Where do they have to do? How many mountains did they have to hike up to get to that abandoned building? How many times did they have to sneak under a fence? How many times did they have to evade the cops to get in that perfect peeling wall that you saw in that photo? How many times did that model get arrested? How many times
and there are some secrets we won't put out there, but one really big one is to say that you are a student.
Oh yeah, if you get called by the cops, you always say you're a photography student.
You can get away with a little bit more, not that
you're doing it for an education purpose.
I was always shooting with photography students in the past. Disclaimer. we in the past always were. I don't know.
I have no photography training at all. No,
okay.
Just saying.
But
yes, if you ever get stopped by the cops, and I also believe, don't quote me on this, but I did look into it, and I did have a friend who's a photographer. They can't take your camera from you. I don't believe that. Again, this is state by state. This is
different.
I believe that they can't even look through your photos. There are rules about it, there are laws about it, and I believe that what they usually try and do is actually illegal. So what they will try and do is to trick you into giving up your camera. And also, I read something that there's a trick or something. Again, if you are in this situation, research
Verify
this
it.
before what I'm saying. I researched this
Hearsay.
a while ago, and I did research it, I did read up on it, but it was a while ago, and I probably should brush up on it. But there's also something where if you get stopped by a cop with the photography situation, after a minute or so, without being rude, you know, you just say to them, you know, am I free to go? And if the cop says to you, says yes, you're free to go, you are legally allowed to walk away and leave. And if they're not detaining you, then
Exactly.
like, if you say those words,
reason,
am I free to go? And they say yes, you turn around and you leave. You may not feel like you're being rude to a cop, and you know it's a tough situation, but when you're getting, if you were to get stopped, you know, leaving a location or a situation where you probably shouldn't have been in, you know, you want to get out of it as fast as possible, but you also have to be polite as possible. But think about yourself. Don't be an asshole. Don't lie. I mean, you maybe gotta lie a little bit, but you know.
Not that we ever have. No.
We've never
We don't lie ever.
Well, no, we've never had a problem with
Yeah, no. Yeah.
We actually, one time we had a cop drive next to us, and he didn't say
While we were on public property.
We were on public property, but we were very obviously not on public property a second beforehand, and we were dressed in
What are you talking about?
You know, we were in a spot that's a kind of a gray area in the trespassing world.
We are good girls, Chloe.
So, you know, you have to know about that. And also, which is another thing as a model is, you know, I'm a photographer and I have locations I go to, and they may or may not be trespassing locations. And if I was to find a model who I didn't know wasn't my friend, and I was like, we're gonna shoot here, you as a model have to weigh your own morals and your own convictions about things, and if you know, I might not say to you,
your comfort is,
or a photographer might not say to you, this is trespassing. You could get arrested. You could get a fine. You could get in trouble for doing this. You know, I know I had one photo shoot where a photographer took me to an abandoned location, and I was not notified beforehand. And I had a little bit of a second where I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
wait, you didn't tell me this beforehand. And I wouldn't do that as a photographer, but you know, you have to be aware of that situation, and you know, you understand that as a model, you can be putting yourself in potentially harm's way or illegal situations, especially in alternative modeling where we seek out, you know,
kind of
post-apocalyptic looks to things and stuff that's you know, abandoned.
And I mean, if you're doing it the right way, you can hypothetically find out who owns the location and send them an email. And having it an email trail is also good because it'll hold up. It's legal.
But you know, just use your brain when you're booking a photo shoot with a photographer, and especially if it's going to be if a photographer ever says, like, oh, I'm bringing you to a secret location, don't do the photo shoot unless they need to tell you beforehand what the location is. So just no secret locations,
so it's for your own safety
nothing
too,
like that.
You know, you want to know where you're going and have it written somewhere for someone to know where you're going.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
No one's going with you. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say Airbnb. I don't know if you've ever used it, but I kind of like that if you're going out of town. But again, let the person know that you're gonna use it for a shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's a website where you can maybe you want to explain.
Find locations. Basically, it's used primarily for like renting a space for a trip, but sometimes they have really beautiful spaces, and you can rent it for a day or an hour or even, you know, shorter spans. And if you clarify the fact that it's for a photo shoot, sometimes the people get excited because they can get more press for it. So it could even be like a trade situation. So.
Yeah, and also sometimes hotels have by the hour rates.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
hotels are not no-tell motel with cool.
But sometimes that actually is kind of cool. You know, it's like some
experience.
Sometimes like the super nice hotels. I mean, like the moderately nice hotels are like just boring. I mean, obviously a super fancy hotel is gonna be cool, but like sometimes like the sleazier ones do have like. They have their place, you know, like if you're doing like...
And those are good options where it's a paid shoot, so you have some compensation for it, so you could put some more money into it.
Yeah, like for example, we're shooting for like Cosplay Deviants, and there's a
no-tell motel with like awesome red walls.
Yeah, like there's like an allowance for expenses. So a situation like that, you know, one of us would put the money out, and then we get paid back for
reimbursed.
it. So that's something that you know, can consider.
There's studios, there's rates for studios.
Which are usually a lot more expensive than anything else we've just mentioned.
Yeah, if you have the budget for that though. There's sometimes we find really awesome house, like, wait, was it like factory studios that have multiple rooms, but again, that's expensive. So, I mean, know what you have around you, and it never hurts to send an email to some place that's really cool and say that you really, a flattering email that you admire the space, find out who owns it, you know, and if you can borrow it for an hour, you know, especially if you say before opening or closing, like say there's an arcade that you really like or a comic shop that you want to shoot at, maybe before or opening.
A slow time. Like, for example, last weekend I did a photo shoot at a bar, and I was, you know, it's football time, but since the Super Bowl is today, last weekend there was no football game, so the bar was actually
very slow.
They knew that they would be slow on Sunday, so we were like, oh hey, can we come on Sunday and do a photo shoot? We were there for like the most of the day, and I think maybe about 4 customers came in, and we brought about 20 customers into the place. So I got 20 people's worth of business by coming that day, and we stayed in the corner, and nobody else was even anywhere near us, and you know, you think about stuff like that. And if you're not
disrupting the business, if in anything they get excited about it, and they end up getting some, I mean, you should give them the pictures or have them let them at least see the pictures, so that could be press for them, and I think it's a win-win. It's nice and cheap too.
Yeah, I mean, you just ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. Like, it really doesn't. You know, if you're comfortable, call, ask for a manager, ask for the owner, ask to contact the owner, or whatever you can do. Just
you get a lot of cool spaces that way.
Like, you just have to ask. Worst thing they could say is no. If they say no, say, well, would you have a
fee?
A fee? Would you be interested in a fee? And if there's still no, then it's still no. Then you walk away and you find somewhere else. You know,
but I've never actually experienced a place that I've always gotten a yes when I've contacted places, even like private places and businesses, if I could come around their hours, and I've never ever experienced someone charging me too. So, and these are like legitimate, beautiful businesses that have like artful walls and beautiful paint jobs and seats, and I mean, they probably get that a lot actually, so they're used to it.
And I mean, if you're not actually hurting anybody, and if you know, the only you might have the situation where like you might not be able to shoot nude in somebody's place. Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
well, you also have to clarify exactly what you're doing, and like I said, if it's an email, then you have a paper trail. So like, if you show up and then they're upset that you're shooting, you have permission in this email where you contacted them. Like, and for what hours? So it's
like if a customer comes in and they're pissed off and they're like, oh, I need to leave because of the customer.
Well, you gave me permission for this amount of time, and that's, you know. So I think we pretty much covered everything, unless you have anything.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you have more questions from either of these videos, maybe you can leave them below, send them to our Ghost Tentacles Facebook message thing, and we can always do a third video to cover any other things, or also if we think of other things. But we're starving, so we're gonna go
get some bubble tea.
Or Applebee's.
Oh wait, no, Applebee's.
Go to Applebee's.
Okay, never mind. But yeah, I hope this was helpful to somebody, maybe at least. So, we talked a lot. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.